Mr. Mekaçi, how important are these elections for you to monitor, and what have you seen till now?
Yes. So I would say that all elections are important, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here to observe these upcoming local elections. I mean, when, elections are important because this is the time when citizens have a chance to vote or to participate, to be candidate, and to elect their representatives to be able then to make decisions that have an impact on their life. In this case, it's about the local level. So for us, all elections are important, and that's why last June, ODIHR conducted what we call a needs assessment mission to decide what type of observation, if any, would be made. And so we are here now to observe the upcoming elections, and we will observe in the whole process until election day, and potentially also for second round.
How many observers do you have in North Macedonia?
So at the moment here we have in Skopje a team of 17 observers, experts. Throughout the country we have 24, which are divided in 12 groups in 11 localities, and 2 groups here in Skopje. And we will be joined also by short-term observers for election day. So it's going to be a full election observation mission from ODIHR this time, and we will be joined also by delegations of the European Parliament, and also the regional body of the Council of Europe will be here.
What is something that you would say is very particular in North Macedonia during this electoral process?
Yeah, I mean, our election observation, they follow a standard format, and when we are here, we look at all the aspects of the elections, from voter register, candidate registration, campaign activities, both in person or online. Media monitoring is also an important component of our work. We actually have a specific focus on media. And so we look at all the aspects, including, participation of ethnic, communities, which is also something particular here in North Macedonia, but also people with disability, and also, political participation of women. So these are, the general aspects and some of the specifics for North Macedonia.
You mentioned the campaign, you mean about the official campaign,
Yeah.
but pre-campaign has started months ago in North Macedonia. That is somehow illegal because the missions and the institutions can't really track the financing and how the money is spent during that period. Do you see a problem there?
So we observe, as I mentioned, elections, before the campaign, during the campaign, election day, and also following the campaign. So this is the standard practice that we will continue to follow also for North Macedonia. We have been here, that is why we have been here since September 5th. And that is before the start of the official campaign. So we have been able also to observe some of the pre-election campaign. But as you mentioned, it is true that it is illegal to do, pre-campaign activities. And we have observed by some interlocutors that some of the candidates have been campaigning also during that part. So this is something that we will assess at the end of the election process, in our also preliminary findings and conclusions, which we will publish on the day after election day. Also regarding campaign financing, we have talked to a number of interlocutors, and including from the oversight institutions. Many people think that there are some issues with the campaign financing oversight overall, in terms both of legislations and some gaps which exist in the legislation, but also considering the capacity of the oversight body. So this is something that we will reflect in our preliminary conclusions.
What do you think about the rhetoric that political parties and the candidates are using during this campaign?
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that there is sometimes hate speech, maybe, in some occasions not really wise political words or some things like that. How do you see it?
So rhetoric of the, is something of the campaign, is also something that we observe during our process. So we look at the tone, the statements that are made by politicians, both at rallies or in traditional media or online. So actually one component of our monitoring is also connected to the social media activity, where some of these rhetoric is also quite feasible. So this is something that we will assess as part of our overall monitoring of the campaign activities, but the conclusions on that will be reflected, as I said, in the statement. It is true that the political environment continues to be polarized in the country, also along ethnic lines. So this is something that we have noted. And there is also widespread, perception and dissatisfaction, perception of corruption in society, and dissatisfaction with public institutions. So this is something that we have already assessed in our interim report that we published a couple of days ago.
And this is not something new. We have had this in previous electoral processes and electoral.
One rule that we follow is that we do not compare elections. So every election observation assessment stands on its own, and so we will make the conclusions about this process. But of course, for citizens, for media, for politicians, it's important to look also at the trend of the country, and the election observation assessment can help with that. By the way, since the birth of ODIHR, we have observed 22 times in North Macedonia, 20 times for elections and 2 times for referenda. So there is a huge amount of information available for people to make their own assessment.
The Assembly didn't succeed to implement some of the recommendations given before by OSBE-ODIHR. How do you think that not implementing those recommendations is going to affect this electoral process now?
Yeah, so it is true that some of the recommendations by ODIHR have not been yet implemented. And this is part of our work here, is also to assess, of course, to observe how the law of the country is implemented, the compliance with international standards and international democratic norms, which, as I said before, are there to allow citizens to participate and to express their vote freely. So this is part of our assessment. But we will also include an analysis of how the lack of implementation of previous recommendations has or has not an impact on the electoral process. So this assessment will be done after election.
In the final report, we will see.
And also in the final report with more detailed recommendations. Yes.
ODIHR systematically has recommended a new electoral code for North Macedonia, but we don't see a political will for this. We constantly have working groups, we have recommendations, new proposals in the Assembly, but we don't really seem to implement that new code. Are you going to keep persisting that North Macedonia has a new electoral code?
So our job is basically to provide the best technical support to all institutions and, at large, to North Macedonian society to make progress on democratic norms, specifically when it comes to elections. So this is something I can tell you that ODIHR will continue to offer our cooperation to the authorities to implement the recommendations that have not been implemented. And right before, actually, this election observation, ODIHR published a legal review regarding the electoral code, providing a number of indications and recommendations for improving, its efficiency and the compliance with international standards. So this is something that I'm sure ODIHR will continue to offer to the authorities. It is not our role to, put pressure on political parties, but we are here to remind what the international commitments are, what the international norms are, and we are ready to cooperate with anyone from civil society, political parties, institutions to continue to make progress towards that goal, which the country itself has agreed. So that's our hope, and I'm sure that will continue to be part of our cooperation with North Macedonia in the future.
Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you.